Hello, welcome to Casa knitting videos. Today I'm going to show you how to knit a one row buttonhole. So for this project you're going to need a button, a darning needle, and a piece of yarn of the same color that's cut about 20 inches long for this purpose. So to start, I'm just going to knit a few stitches. And then I'll start my buttonhole. So let's say that's where I want my buttonhole to start. You're going to take your button and measure out the number of stitches that you would need to make the hole wide enough. So here it looks like it's 2, 4, 6 stitches, but that's at the top of the button. You really want the whole button to go through, so push that up. So then now I'm going to count again. 2, oops. So it's about 2, 4, 6. Let's say about 7 stitches for the button to go through. Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to thread that piece of yarn double-stranded. So you're going to double up the strand. Oops. I can't get that to thread through. There we go. And what I'm going to do is just basically slip the 7 stitches that I need for the buttonhole onto the darning needles. So 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. And you're just going to pull that through. So you have your 7 stitches there and the 2 ends of your yarn. They're going to go to the back of your work. And at this point, you're going to need to cast on the same number of stitches that you've slipped off for the top part of your buttonhole. So I'm going to use a Provincial cast on, and if you're not familiar with this method, I'm going to go as slow as I can, so hopefully you'll be able to practice it yourself. Okay, so to do this, you're going to grab the left side of your double-stranded yarn with your right hand, and your left thumb, you're just going to loop that through. So you're just going to wrap that through and hold it like that with your right hand. Oops. And you're also going to need your working yarn. So maybe I should have grabbed my working yarn first. There's my working yarn. On your left hand, loop that through and hold on to that end. So it's going to look something like this. Okay, there's my working yarn on my index finger. My thumb is looped through the double-stranded, and on the other end of the double-stranded is on my right hand. So to start the Provincial cast on, you're basically going to take your right hand needle, and you're going to go under and just grab the working yarn. Take that over, so I'm just going to tighten. Take that over the double-stranded, that's 1 stitch. And then you're going to pick up from the working yarn, that's 2. Under the double-stranded, pick up 3. Oops. Just pick up, that's 4. Under, pick up, that's 5. Just pick up, that's 6. And under and pick up, and that's 7 stitches. You're going to slip your finger off of the left hand side, off of all the yarn there. And now basically you're just going to continue knitting your pattern stitch to the end or to the next buttonhole that you would need to create a buttonhole for. And for this, I'm just going to knit right across to the end. Let go of that. Pick up my working yarn. There's my loop there. There's my working yarn. And you're just going to knit in pattern, whatever stitch pattern that you're using. You're going to knit to the next buttonhole, or you're just going to knit to the end of your work. So in the front, your buttonhole looks like this. There are your 7 stitches down there, and that would be the top part of your buttonhole there. At the back, it would look like this. A bit of a mess, really, but there's the loop there. There's the top strand that we've just used to cast on, and there's the bottom part of your buttonholes. So there's your buttonhole there. So from here, on the wrong side of your work, again, you would just continue knitting your stitch pattern like normal. For this, I'm just going to purl across because I'm just using a stocking net stitch pattern here. But for whatever stitch that you're using for your pattern, that's what you'll continue knitting. Basically, after the cast on, you're done your buttonhole, and now we're just trying to secure the hole, basically. And if it feels loose, just give your yarn, just pull your yarn tight and give it a bit of a tuck, and we should be okay. So I'm just going to knit one more row or 2 more rows basically, so that I can stabilize these stitches, so that I can show you what you need to do next. Now you don't have to knit those extra rows. You can at this point tighten up your buttonhole, and I'll show you how, but I just wanted to make sure that the stitches don't move around so you can see clearly what I'm doing. I'm just going to knit to the end of the row, and again, this is the part where you're just going to use your stitch pattern to knit your pattern with. So you've got a big hole that looks like that, and in the back there's the loop there from one side. There's the top part of your buttonhole, the double strand, and the bottom double strand for your bottom buttonhole. So you're just going to tighten this up just by pulling. You're going to tighten up this just by pulling this side here. Just slide that through, and before you pull it right through, just loop the double strands at the bottom through the hole. So you basically pull that through, and we're going to tighten that part still just by pulling it. Okay. And now I'm going to tighten up this end just by pulling the bottom part of the double strand. Oops, I think my yarn just got caught in the needle there. Now before you pull it tight and tighten up the hole, it's a good idea to just take your button and put it through the hole and see if it still fits. Now at this point I think it's a little too loose, so I'm just going to tighten it up a little bit more. And that fits great right now. So at this point, I'm just going to thread these 2 strands through the buttonhole just to secure it. And you'll see that you may have a hole there. You may not be able to eliminate that hole because we've done the cast on the one row. Not to worry, at this point, we can close up that hole there. So you have 2 strands. You have the top strand and the bottom strands, and we're just going to work that through those 7 stitches. I'm using the bottom strand, which is going to go through the top 7 stitches, and the top strand will go through the bottom 7 stitches. So I'm going to thread that through, and at this time I'm going to take this opportunity and close up the holes as well that I see there. So you just pick up a neighboring stitch on the other side of the hole and just close that in. you might have to do a couple of stitches. One stitch might not do the job. Okay, now there's still a hole. Don't worry about it. We have another strand to work through still. So let's just take this strand and we're going to work through the top 7 stitches. So you're basically going to slide your darning needle through those stitches there. So I have 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. And you're going to pull that through. Leave a little bit of a loop for now because we want to be able to measure the buttonhole so that it still fits before you tighten up that loop there. So we're going to go ahead and do the other strand. Just pull that through and then we'll worry about tightening up to the right size. So at this point we want to close that hole. There's still a little bit of a hole there. I'm just going to close that up as well. So I'm going to pick up, so this is the top strand, so I'm going to the bottom. So I'm just going to pick up the neighboring stitches just to close up that hole. Okay, so the hole is now closed, and I'm going to go through the bottom 7 stitches this time. 6, 7, and you're going to pull it through. Let's not tighten that loop up just yet. Take the button and make sure that it could still fit, which it does. So I know that that's about the width of the hole that I need to go. And I'm just going to tighten that up. And I'm going to pull that tight as well. Let's try that again. Perfect. So there's the back of your buttonhole. And there's the front of your buttonhole. It's a very pretty buttonhole. And at this point you can cut off the ends now, but I just really want to be sure that nothing's going to slide out. And at this point too, if you still see any holes from your casting on for the buttonhole, you can also close up the gap too. I see a little bit of a hole there. Not a big deal, but it will probably look nicer if I just close it up. So you pick up a stitch there and you just pull that through, and now you're just going to weave your yarn into the stitches. And just cut that off. And you do the same for the other strand. This is a great opportunity to close up any holes that would bother you, that we may have created while we were picking up stitches. And you cut out that. And there's your beautiful buttonhole there.